Listen to me, child. His reign is not bound by time, but by eternity. Empires crumble, thrones rot, kings vanish into dust, but he is no king. He didn't vanish. He was sharpening in the dark. Every scar, a reminder. Every breath, a warning.
I didn't become this way. I was built, layer by layer, scar by scar, not born, but forged in the fire of betrayal, silence, and forced endurance. They always wanted a version of me that was easier to control, obedient, soft, quiet. But when they pushed and I didn't bend, when they struck and I didn't flinch, they started to fear what they were creating. But by then, it was already too late. This is what they asked for. They wanted someone strong. I gave them invincible. They wanted someone humble. I gave them silent storms. They wanted loyalty. I gave it until it bled me dry, until there was nothing left but bone and nerve and rage. They pushed me into the pit, and I crawled out, dragging shadows behind me. I was never meant to stay down there. I was never meant to die quietly. They thought they could drown me in silence, but I taught myself how to breathe underwater. This is what they asked for. They dressed up their envy as advice. Be more patient. Be more kind. Don't speak so loud. Don't fight so hard. But the same mouths preaching peace were the ones twisting the knives when my back was turned. The same hands offering help were already weighing how much it would cost to bury me. So I became my own salvation. I looked in the mirror and stopped asking why. I stopped asking when. I stopped needing closure from people who only came close to twist the blade deeper. I stopped forgiving those who only saw apologies as chances to wound again. I stared into the abyss they left me in and heard something whisper from the dark. You're not done. You were never done. So I rose, not as their victim, not as their scapegoat. I rose as the consequence of their cruelty, the echo of every lie they told me, the retaliation for every time I bit my tongue, broke my spirit, or swallowed my pain for their comfort. This is what they asked for. I didn't ask to be unbreakable. I was forced to be. I was forged in silence, perfected in pain. And now they flinch when they see me. Now they whisper, what happened to you? What happened? You did. You happened to me. You betrayed me with a smile. You tested my patience until it snapped. You mistook kindness for weakness and thought my silence was submission. But now I wear that silence like armor. Now I carry that betrayal like a sword. I am not cold. I am not heartless. I am focused, precise. I learned that emotions are luxuries the hunted can't afford. While they were celebrating my failures, I was studying every cut, every scar, every fall, and building a map straight to vengeance. But not the petty kind. Not the kind that burns everything down. Number. I am vengeance disguised as growth. I am vengeance that learns, adapts, evolves. I am vengeance that speaks softly and carries history in my eyes. This is what they asked for. I remember every word. Not because I'm stuck in the past, but because those words built me. Every insult carved a detail into this version of me. Every dismissal sharpened my resolve. Every betrayal sculpted this storm I now call my body. They say I've changed, as if I was ever given permission to stay the same, as if I wasn't molded by necessity, by survival. They say I'm too dark now, too hard, too distant. But where were they when I cried behind closed doors and no one came? Where were they when I screamed in silence hoping someone would see me, really see me, before I turned to ash. They were watching, and they did nothing. So now I do everything without them, better without them, sharper without them. I do not hate them. I've transcended that. Hatred is a flame. I am the wildfire. Hatred is noise. I am silence that swallows whole. This is what they asked for. I didn't become a monster. I became an answer.
Forgiveness? That word never made it into his blood. You call it cold. He calls it clarity. He didn't come back for attention. He's here for correction.
So I wasn't crowned. I wasn't chosen. No hand reached down to bless me with gold and glory. I took the throne with blood still drying on my knuckles. This isn't some fairy tale. This is the part they never tell. The part where the crown is earned in darkness, sharpened on betrayal, and welded in fire. I didn't rise with cheers. I rose in silence, in agony, alone. They buried me beneath the weight of expectations I never asked for, told me I was too wild, too angry, too much. So I choked it down. I bent, I broke, I swallowed every scream, every insult, every ounce of shame until my lungs filled with poison and my heart forgot how to beat without pain. But a king isn't born, a king is forged. I was forged in the silence between heartbreaks, in the shadows of closed doors, in the nights where I stared at the ceiling with fists clenched so tight, my own nails drew blood. I didn't sleep. I studied the dark. I didn't cry. I learned. And when the pieces of me shattered one too many times, I didn't rebuild. I redesigned. This isn't a comeback. It's a resurrection. I used to want peace. I begged for peace. But peace is a lie they sell to keep wolves in cages. So I stopped begging. I let the rage in. I let the pain carve new paths inside me, new instincts, new fire. I became something they can't predict anymore, something they can't control. This is the part they fear, because now I walk with the storm. I don't run from it. I am it. They tried to chain me with kindness, keep me small with fake smiles and weak apologies. But I watched. I remembered every smirk when I failed, every celebration when I stumbled, every back that turned when I needed just one hand. So no, I don't forgive. The loneliness that they thought would be my downfall became my sanctuary. I found clarity in silence, strength in solitude. The path I walked was not a punishment. It was purification. Without distractions, without false comforts, I faced my demons head on. They became familiar, allies bound by blood and darkness. These were the truths others avoided, the shadows they fled from in terror. But I embraced them, welcomed them like old friends. For in darkness lies honesty, stripped bare and raw, untainted by deception. I learned to listen, to myself, to my instincts, to the whispers of my heart. Each voice that once tormented me now guided me, turning pain into power. They whispered truths others feared to hear. They told me I was never meant to follow, but to lead. My solitude sharpened senses I didn't know existed, honed perceptions too vivid for ordinary souls. I saw through masks, shattered illusions, recognized deceit before it formed. Loneliness had given me sight. They still mock me, calling me lost, a wanderer without purpose. They couldn't be more wrong. Every step I took, every mile of that forsaken path was deliberate. I chose solitude over false connections, truth over comforting lies. I didn't stumble aimlessly. I walked with fierce determination. My purpose was carved from suffering, written in the scars across my heart, and etched deeply into the marrow of my bones. I became more than human, less fragile, unbound by fears and insecurities that held them captive. I stood outside their rules, beyond their judgments. They despised me for this freedom. They hated me for embracing what they could never understand. Absolute independence. They call me cold, cruel, monstrous. But monsters aren't born. They're created, shaped by a world that demands submission, that crushes spirit and punishes strength. Yet, I refused submission, resisted the chains, broke free of expectations. I will not apologize for the monster I became, because I was not born in peace. I was born in fire. I didn't choose this path. It chose me. And every time I tried to run, it dragged me back. Every time I tried to soften, it broke me again, until I understood. I'm not meant to escape the darkness. I'm meant to command it. I look at the mirror, and I don't see shame. I see power. I see scars that tell stories of survival. I see eyes that no longer search for acceptance, only victory, only vengeance, only legacy. I don't ask if I'm too far gone. I know I am, but I also know that's where the real power is. In the abyss, in the madness, in the parts of me that were never meant to be tamed. I stopped waiting to be saved. I became the savior I needed. Cold, ruthless, focused. I know the rules of this game. I've mastered every step. I see the traps before they're set. I see the lies before they're spoken. I've trained in silence, suffered in silence, and now I speak in storms. I don't need a spotlight. I am the lightning. And when the world looks at me with fear, with doubt, with disgust, I smile, because they only fear what they can't control. They only hate what they can't break. And I am unbreakable. I dance with my demons. I take their hand. I match their rhythm. I move to the beat of every battle I've survived. And I smile, because I've stopped running. I've stopped hiding. I've become everything I was afraid of. And it feels like freedom.